Good morning. Today I'll be presenting on the PassioGo requirements. This is our repository. Here we have our software requirement specification. We started off with the purpose of our project, and we moved on to the overview, which has our justification, scope, so stuff that we will implement, as well as the stuff that are out of scope, which we won't, or stuff that we'll consider doing later. We have our objectives. The overview just kind of explains the basis of our project and stuff that we plan to implement. Here we have the project perspective. So we kind of explain our project as additional, something as an addition to the existing PassioGo app. So it won't fully replace it or be integrated in it, but rather it'll be like a helper function that allows people to better use the PassioGo app. For our functional requirements, our main ones are real-time bus tracking and the live updates on delays and driver breaks. We have the priority set for each of them, as well as a description for what each is. And also we have non-functional requirements. These are ones that won't be really necessarily built in, but just explains how we expect it to act and stuff that we expect to be built in, such as security, and it should be easy to use. Our defined terms are PassioGo, which is the transit system at USF. Bull Runner is our bus service. The API is something that we talk about extensively in this SRS, because we'll be using the unofficial documentation for PassioGo, so we could get a lot of the information. Here in our references, we reference our project scope definition that we created earlier, the PassioGo API documentation, as well as these two Ruby style guides and Rails style guides that were developed by Rubocop that are supported by GitLabs. The end user characteristics describe the people who will be using our app. These are predominantly USF students and faculty. They generally will be using apps, and it should be accessible to iOS, Android, email, and web. We divided our constraints into two major topics: operational and technical. The operational are ones that are limited, for example, our time, which we have 1 semester to complete this task, while our technical constraints deal with our actual skills and our skill to complete the actual task. For the standards, we referenced them before, the Ruby style guide as well as the Ruby on Rails style guide. Here we have some general assumptions. These are mostly focused on our team skills, how much control we have in delivering this data, and how it will be presented. And then we just have our current version, which states the day when we made it. Moving on, we have our matrix, our traceability matrix. Here we have our requirements. These were all created with our issue template. We further built on this and created an issue form, so it's kind of easier to insert information. Here we have our custom fields, status, source, requirement type, the priority of each task, stable, how likely it is to change or not change, version, design code, as well as tests, and also role. Now, if we look inside of some of our requirements, you'll see that they each have this nice template. They have their requirement ID, the title, what type it is, for example, functional or non-functional, how we discovered it. Here we had interview with users. We have a description and a description as well as a rationale as to why and which milestone it is closely associated with, as well as source. And this is directly correlated with our discovery technique. So the source is who we use to get the information for this requirement. Here is another example. And again, it follows the same template. And these are for functional requirements. They're filtered here, but we also have our non-functional requirements, which are less technical, but stuff that would be good for us to implement. They also have the same 8 custom fields. These are all filled out, as well as following the nice template that we built. Here we have untraceable requirements. We define untraceable requirements as those who don't have a source. So these we're not using any of our discovery techniques, and they don't really closely align to our milestones. For our to-do design, these are our requirements that currently don't have the design files or have not yet been designed. Similarly, not have been implemented yet, as well as those who have not been tested yet. Currently, since we haven't really built out the app as yet, all of these need to be designed, implemented, and tested. And that's the basic overview of our software requirements.